Agenda for today will be covering, all the 10 points that we see over, or 9 points, and then followed by questions. We'll be starting off with fundamentals, looking at relative valuation, corporate events and filings, debt analysis and rating, analyst estimates and research reports. A number of these pages are actually present on the company overview page. And so essentially what we'll try and do is we'll try and deep dive into important areas and the way that you can actually use this to perform an analysis of a company to arrive at, and to arrive at an understanding of whether the company may be fairly priced, overpriced, or underpriced relative to its current estimated value and relative to the peers, right? We'll also be going into available Excel templates, and then there are some applications such as the financial chart, which we can use to actually, plot the trend either for the price or for fundamental values or for valuation ratios such as your PE, price to book. So you can essentially get the history of these ratios or these fundamental values on chart with a number of companies together to get sort of a visual understanding of how that company is performing in the past and how it's likely to perform in the future. We'll also look at alerts, which is a very helpful tool when from a workflow perspective, in order to ensure that you are actually keeping on top of all the events or price movements or news that are transpiring with relation to that company. As we go through the session, I will also take you through a number of star mine models, which are pertinent to the discussion, such as the earnings quality model or some of the credit risk models. And in the end, we'll leave some time, somewhere around 5 to 10 minutes, for questions on any of the topics we've covered over here, or questions that you have over and above that as well. So let me just go ahead and start launching the icon. Right. Okay. So I hope everyone can see my screen over here now since I've launched the icon. Okay. So I'm going to, start off by just using a sample company. Let's say I use Reliance. Okay. So as I mentioned, we'll look at the fundamentals tab in order to be able to derive some insights on the current price of the company. So as you can see over here, there are options for selection in terms of the income statement, balance sheet, cash flow. You'll also notice that if you've been using Icon in the past, you would have noticed that there was a Reuters fundamental and the Refinitiv financials. Now, the Reuters fundamentals, was a kind of a legacy tab. Refinitiv financials is actually the new tab which you should see on your side as well. The reason that this has been incorporated is obviously because of the name change, but also because of some enhancements that we have been doing on our end in terms of how this data is actually coming up on your screen. So let's just take up the income statement. Right. So within the income statement, obviously, this is probably a fairly familiar view to you, given that this is mostly the bread and butter. Anyone who's looking at any company will will likely look at this page first. In terms of the settings that you can adjust in order to view this, it's fairly straightforward. I think you guys would have seen it before, in as far as toggling between the as reported standardized views and as well as the periodicity between annual, quarterly, mixed, TTM, etc., as well as the parent and consolidated view. Uh, the important thing to note actually when you are looking at this page is going to be within the line items. So within the line items, what you will see is that there is a click-through audit option. What this does is that if you click on the hyperlink, it takes you to the filing document where this number is actually being procured from, which essentially helps you understand, the context within which this number, and also to validate whether the number is correct, right? Next to that, you'll also see question marks. The question marks are very useful as far as pulling up data in Excel is concerned. So if you were to pull up this exact same line item into an Excel, or you wanted to validate that you're pulling up a line item which you want to make sure, because when you're looking at the data items within the Excel builder, you'll see a number of them which may look familiar. You may want to actually see the full breakdown of what that line item is. So this is a good way to actually see that. So the question mark next to each line item is a good way to do that, right? If we go down, sorry. Yeah. So if we actually look at some of the other options over here, you'll be able to see that there's the balance sheet, there's the cash flow, there's the operating metrics, segments. So within the segments, actually, you'll be able to see the different business and geographical segments within which this company actually operates. And what we're working to do as we go, into 2021 as well, is we're hoping to increase the number of product segments which are available for the company. So the breakdown of the number of products which are contributing to the revenue. So hopefully you should start seeing more of that as we move into the months ahead in the business line by segments. Right. You can also see the geographic segments. Right, so whether it's within the region, outside the region, and consolidated, etc. And if you actually, open up the drop down, you'll see the breakdown of what is contributing to this. Okay. Similarly, we have for all the ratios, whether they're profit, value, risk, or the key metrics. And what we'll come to later is also how you can actually chart some of these ratios in the financial charts app, because obviously over here it's giving it to you in a tabular format, but it would also, if you were comparing this company, or you were looking at this company in isolation, it's a very good way to actually do it is if you have it in a chart. So we'll be looking at how you can chart all of these ratios actually. Okay. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about is the earnings quality model. So as I mentioned, we have a number of what we call as star mine models. Star mine models are basically models which are used as stock selection scores, right? In order to assess a number of features of a particular company. In this case, what the earnings quality model does is it tries to analyze the degree to which the past earnings of the company are likely to persist in the future. So when I say that, I mean, what is the composition of the past earnings? Is the composition of one-time earnings incurrences, such as favorable legal settlement or a sale of assets, or is it operating earnings? So what is the breakup of that composition over time? So if there's a higher composition of operating earnings, this score will be higher, because if there's a legal settlement or a sale of asset, that's likely to occur only one time, right? So this gives you a good idea as to how the reliability of the past earnings persisting into the future. And if you see over here, this gives you the historical trend of that score as well. So if there's a dip in it, whatever reason, in this case, Reliance has had a reduction in scores. It's kind of returned back to its normal. Right. And if you're looking for the breakup, whether it's account receivables, inventories, other current assets, PP and E, other non-current assets, you'll see that over here. It also gives you a measure against the industry. So the score essentially, what it tells us right now is that it within the emerging markets, it is at the 53rd percentile, right? So it's 50, it's better than 53% of all the companies in emerging markets for this industry, right? So it's not a good score, but it's not a bad score either. And if you see what comprises a good or bad score, the ranges are provided over here. Right. So that is on the financials. There are a number of other, options over here which you can explore. But what I'll do now is I'll move on from here into the peers. So within the peers, we have a number of options as well. So the first option that we can look at is the peer analysis. Right. So this auto loads all of, in this case, Reliance's immediate peers, and it gives you the metrics for comparison over here. By default, I think we are getting the valuation comparison. So we see EV revenue, EV EBITDA, price to earnings, price to cash flow. Uh, if you want, you can also change it to forward valuation, profitability, um, peer comparison. So, for example, if we moved it to profitability, you'll see that there are some metrics over here which are getting measured for Reliance as against its peers. And what it tells us as well is the peer mean across all these companies, as well as the peer median. Okay. And what we can do is, if we want to adjust the statistics which are provided at the bottom for the whole set of companies, we can click on the settings icon and we can go to statistics. And this then gives us some further statistics that we can add into this current view. Right. And for example, if we want to add a metric into this view, which we currently don't have, all we need to do is launch the data item library and load up a statistic. Let's say we want the EPS. That's the current EPS for the last reported financial year. We can add that, and that will get added. And if we want to add it for a series, there was the option over there to add it for the series as well. You can go in, click on edit, and you will see on the right hand side that there is an option to add it for the series as well for those set of companies. Right. So whether it's the last 2 years or the last 5 years, the selection is really up to you. Further to that, you can also export this into an Excel either as a static file or as a dynamic file. So when I say dynamic file, it actually allows you to update this. It will allow you to update this file in the future in the Excel. So if you see on the drop down, export all as formulas. Okay, I'm having a little bit of trouble in my Excel. Just a moment. Okay, I will show you the export a little later. There is some issues with my computer, which is not it's saying that there's not enough memory on my computer. So I'll just come back to that a little later. Um, so yes, that allows you to export. Um, the next thing in this particular tab is the value chains that you will find useful. The value chains is giving you a view of all the suppliers, so essentially, what are the companies which are providing inputs needed by the company in question, as well as the buyers, so the customers of the company in question, right? So if you see on the top over here, we have all suppliers, customers. And the thing about this view is that many of the companies, may provide some information in their 10K or their annual reports or, their periodic reports, but they don't necessarily provide all these. It's not something that is given by the company that these are all our suppliers and these are all our customers. So what we do is we try and collate this information through a number of sources, including the reported sources by the company, as well as what is available by what's supported by the media. And you'll see that there's a confidence score associated with each of these counterparties. So in the case of Saudi Aramco, as a supplier, we say that we say with 100% certainty that this is a supplier, right? So depending on the relative number of snippets or counts, you'll see who is the main supplier of these of the company in question, right? And if the company has, uh, for example, a credit rating, so we see for BP PLC, will also be able to tell what is the counterparty risk associated with this. That may be more useful when you're looking at it from a customer standpoint. So how likely are the revenues that they're gaining from these companies to be turned into actual cash flow? Because if it's a company such as this one in Venezuela, which would make sense, this company has a very poor rating. So whether that company can actually pay on its purchases also may come into question. So this may be a good view to see how much of that revenue they'll be able to turn into actual cash flow. So this is the tabular view that you have for this. The other view that you can use is the industry breakdown view to see the major industries and which companies are within those industries. So we can see for the suppliers, you know, quite obviously for this particular company because it's in the oil and gas and refining space. We have these breakdowns into these industries. And we also have the geographical breakdown. So if you'd like to see where the majority of the revenue or the majority of the suppliers are coming from, you'll be able to tell that from this view over here, which might be useful given some of the supply chain risks which people are looking at more keenly now with what has gone on in the last couple of months, right? Okay, so moving forward from here, we also have uh, a lot of filing pages and events pages within Icon, right? So let's say we start off with the events pages. So the events page over here is in isolation for this specific company. The best way to actually use events and to gain, to be able to derive a lot of information in one single view is through the advanced events app, which essentially consolidates all the events from individual companies that you are looking for. Okay, so the view is fairly straightforward, and you'll notice that this view cuts across many of the icon applications where you have the filter parameters set over here, right? But this app in particular, what it allows you to do is that it allows you to cut through a lot of the events that may be reported for a particular company, to the ones which are pertinent to you. So let's say, for example, we load a couple of companies over here. Right now, I have a portfolio loaded, which is called Dhaval. But let me just load a few companies. Just you can also load a portfolio. So if you save it under monitor, you'll be able to load like 100 companies in one go without typing them one by one, which I can show you in case some people are not familiar. Okay, so let's say I've just loaded 3 companies over here. What you can do is you can select specific events. So if, for example, you only want to select earnings and corporates and confidence and maybe dividends, you can click on those, or you can even go into the specific dividends or the specific earnings and corporates events that you want. Click on done. And what it will allow you to do, it will allow you to take visual stock of these events, and it will allow you to easily manage these events. So you can also set up alerts for these events. So if you actually So within the alerts tab, and I'll come to that later. Actually, I'll show you how to set that up in the alerts tab. But over here, if we're adjusting the time period, we can see that it's for the next 3 months and the last 3 months. So currently, we're viewing the upcoming events over here into September and October, and we can also see some of the events that have already occurred. And you'll also notice for the events, we see that there are transcripts. Right. So if you actually want to dial into these transcripts and view or listen to them, you can click on that. This is also accessible through icon for mobile. So for example, if you want to listen to these transcripts on the move, you'll be able to do that. Um, the difference between this, you can see that this is a live delivery, so it's occurring as the event is playing out, and this is an intraday. So it's going through the day as we get more information on the event. Okay. So similar to that, you also see that there is also the filings tab. Now, filings works in the same way in that you don't necessarily use the filings tab from the company itself. What you would want to do is you'd want to use it from the advanced filings. Right. So the view, remains largely the same. And you can select the companies over here. If you have specific keywords within those filings, you can select that as well as the category of filings. So similar to what we had under the events where we were selecting corporate dividends and conference. Over here, you can actually specify the filings that you want, whether they're annual or the type of annual event, board changes, listings, legal actions, investments, etc. That can be done over here. And again, you can click on it and it's going to open up the filing. And you would also be able to set up alerts for the filings when they are released or submitted to the exchange. Okay. The next thing that we can look at is the estimates. Right now, so the estimates actually is a key strength of the Refinitiv product suites in that we have a very large coverage of estimates in comparison to some of our competitors. So we actually consolidate the largest number of contributors for estimates, and our coverage is also probably the highest as far as a global coverage is concerned, right? And the estimates view over here comes in, mainly two forms, which is the statement view and the detailed estimate view. What we're looking at currently is the detailed estimate view. And you will see that under the detailed estimate view, we're actually essentially drilling down into the measure over here, which is given under this drop down for that specific period. Right. So what information is given here is the average across all the brokers in the custom calculated mean, as well as what we call as the smart estimate, which is the weighted average of these brokers that you see at the bottom. So depending on their rating or their accuracy, they would get a higher weightage in the smart estimate. So we can see that the higher weighted brokers are slightly, they're not as optimistic as the average for all the brokers. So what we can tell is that there might be a slight downside risk to this particular period for earnings, right? And you can also measure the historical performance across all these periods to see what analysts have been saying for that specific stock, both from a smart estimate standpoint as well as the average standpoint, and it's giving you the stock price as well. Right. There are also views in terms of the standard deviation from the mean, the forecast, as well as the ability to change the view over here. The bubble size would give you, so analyst accuracy, obviously the larger bubbles you can then go into, because those analysts have been better at predicting the earnings per share for this company, right? So similar to this, I mean, we have the statement view, which is going to give you all the line items where we have estimates available for that company from a historical standpoint as well as a forward-looking standpoint. Right. So this is a fairly straightforward view. Again, changing the template from the balance sheet, cash flow, valuation metrics, as well as the periods. So the other thing I wanted to talk about with you is one of the other StarMine models we have, which is tends to be one of the best predictors as far as all the 10 StarMine models are 10 plus StarMine models are concerned, in terms of predicting the accuracy of the company's performance. And we've done some back testing on this relative to a number of companies. And we found that the ARM tends to be a very good predictor for company performance. What ARM is sorry, I think someone is not on mute. Just going to mute them. I think someone is not on mute. Yeah. Yeah. So what ARM is that it essentially uh, gives you the it gives you the likelihood that a particular estimate is going to be revised upwards or downwards, right? So if the rating is low, it's not likely to be revised upwards. It might be revised downwards. But the way that we calculate it is that there tends to be a revision of analysts towards the higher performing analysts with a slight lag. So we measure the time or the likelihood of those analysts actually revising their estimates towards the higher predicted estimates. So if this score is high, it would tell you that this company is likely, the analysts who are tracking this company are likely to revise their estimates upwards, right? So that's another model that you may want to track. Another model which we have also found a lot of evidence for it actually providing back tested evidence that it provided uh, um, alpha for the companies that would have been invested in is the price momentum model. So you may want to also check that out. I don't want to spend too much time on all these models because there are many, but I'm just highlighting the ones which tend to perform really well. And what you may want to do is in your monitor. So when you have a list of monitors over here and you're tracking, say, you've screened, say, 250 companies, or you're just listing the index of companies and you're trying to analyze which ones are are better bets. You may want to include some of these models in that monitor. So you could essentially just add them over here, right? So the one we just spoke about was the ARM, or the analyst revision. Right, so you can get all the analyst revision ranks over here. And the other one, which I said, which you may want to also look into further, given its backtesting efficacy, backtested efficacy, is the price momentum. Okay, we'll just let that load. While that loads, I'll go back over here. So yes, price momentum. And if you would like, there is a lot more information on all of these models within the StarMine overview page. So if you type StarMine over here, you will see the StarMine overview. And you can also request for white papers on these on these particular models. So you'll see under StarMine models, these are all the models which are available. So we went through a few. I'll also cover the debt one once we move into the debt tab on the company overview page. But yes, this is where you'll get a lot of the information on all of these models. So the next thing that we'll look at is the debt, as I mentioned. So under debt, you can actually look at the debt again from a single company standpoint. And as I mentioned, a number of these applications also let you view it for many companies together. So the debt structure will let you view it for one company in question over here, and the view it's going to look like this. But if you're trying to analyze, what is the debt risk, or the leveraged, how much it's like 3-4 companies are leveraged when you compare them against each other, you can actually use what is called as a debt structure comparable. Right, DS comp. Yeah. So what DS Comp allows you to do is it allows you to compare the debt profile, or the of how much a company is leveraged against five companies in one view. So we could load. Let's say we load these three companies over here, and we get the debt view for all these three companies in one go for specific periods. So if you see right now, we're looking at bonds, and the category is maturity. So what the view is giving us that in 2020, these are the number of bonds or amount outstanding, which is actually going to mature for these three companies. So it gives you an idea of like what is the risk for that particular period across all these companies, right? And you can also adjust the categories. So right now by default we have selected maturity. If you wanted to adjust it to, coupon type or market or currency, so if you want to see what the currency risk is, you could do that under currency. Right, so we can see that it's these are the breakups over here, by the way. The US dollars here, Indian rupee, GBP, euro. Right. And if you wanted to delve deeper into the specific bonds, you could actually click over here under show details, which we'll not go into. This is just to give you an overview, but you can do that as well. You can also choose to include or exclude subsidiaries. There's also the option to actually see it within pie chart. And if I take you back to the company view over here, you should be able to see it within a pie chart. Yeah. So in this view, you may not be able to see it in a pie chart, but in the single company view, you have the option to see it within a pie chart as well. Again, all of this is exportable into Excel. Okay. On that note, also, I would like to show you what is known as the ratings monitor, so to actually track the again the credit risk of the companies that you are looking at. And what the rating monitor allows you to is that instead of actually, looking at icon nonstop to see what the ratings have, if there's been a ratings upgrade on your companies that you're interested, or ratings downgrade, you can select alerts for those companies. So anytime there is a change by the agencies, you'll simply just get an update on that on your phone, or it'll be a pop-up over here for you. Right. So we can filter on the basis of over here. You can see the range as well as the region. So let's say I selected just India over here. If I wanted to select the sector as well, I could do that if I'm interested in a sector. And I can just select, specific companies over here, select all, the State Bank of India, or, basically allow me to select all those companies over there, which I'm kind of tracking. And once they are selected, you'll see that there is an option for you to actually set up the alert. So anytime there is an outlook change by the agency, and this is spread across all public, private, and as well as sovereign. Actually, there should be sovereign ratings as well over here. You would be able to get those alerts. For us right now, because we're looking only at companies, it would be public and private, but it does allow you to view for sovereigns too. Right. On that note, also, I wanted to show you as far as understanding the credit risk of specific companies. You would also perhaps want to look at the one of the StarMine credit models, which is the combined credit risk model. Right. So the combined credit risk models combines these three credit risk models into one score from 0 to 100. So what it does is that it breaks down the metrics relative to so each company's in metrics. It varies from industry to industry. So, for example, if you're looking at oil and gas or manufacturing, you would see a specific metrics. So, basis that will be giving more weightage to profitability metrics or liquidity or leverage, coverage, growth, and what it does is it'll give you a score from 0 to 100, covering all these structural text mining smart ratios. So if we're looking at text mining, if from the information provided in the news, there is any indication that this company is struggling with managing its debt, or it's got a large amount of payout that it has to do, it will show up in this text mining model, and then subsequently in the overall credit risk score, right? Similarly, if there are structural issues in what's being reported by the company, that will also influence this. If there are ratios which are tending to be which are deteriorating, leverage ratios which are deteriorating, uh, that would result in a lower score than over here, right? And you'll also notice that we are comparing our ratings against both S&P and Moody's, so you can actually track how this movement has been against S&P and Moody's. And what you will see a theme amongst all companies that you look for the combined credit risk model is that our ratings tend to change far more. So if you see the price, this is the model implied rating over here, this blue line. And you see our ratings changed over here, right? And they changed subsequently as well. So what you will see is that there's far more variability in our ratings versus the standard agencies. So you may want to look at that as well when you're looking at investing in any of the stocks. Okay. The other thing I wanted to come to is the financial charts, which allows you to, as I mentioned, chart some of those important ratios to get to take visual stock of, say for example, the PE or the EV to EBITDA. Right. So by default, it's taking up the price. What we can do is we can go into the data item library of fundamentals and estimates over here. And let's say we want the EV to EBITDA, the daily, yeah, enterprise value to EBITDA. And just click on add over here. Right. Now this is tracking the EV to EBITDA for the specific company. We can choose to hide the price line if we don't want the price line. But essentially what this is doing is that it's giving the EV to EBITDA for the specific company. And you can choose to add more companies over here as well to get that EV to EBITDA versus multiple companies. Uh, Another thing that you can do is you can also export that into Excel pretty quickly. So if you see over here for the specific range that we had selected, we can just export it all into Excel. Right, and again, you can plot pretty much anything over here. Not I just showed you EV to EBITDA, but if you see over here, you can plot ESG scores, you can plot fundamentals, you can plot ratios, pretty much anything really onto this chart. So it's very flexible in that nature. So one of the last things I wanted to go through as well is the research report capability, an icon. So you'll see over here under news and research, there's company research, but where you'd want to actually go to access the broad set of research which is available would be under advanced research. Right. So over here, what you can do is you can search per company under quick search. for one company. You can also search for, across multiple companies by typing multiple names. So let's just see at the lines first. Right, then maybe I want tomatoes. Right, and if you click search, you will get all the reports over there for those two companies. You can increase the search for more than two as well. And the important thing that you can do over here is, along with searching for just those company reports, is that you can also specify, whether you want to have just industry reports. Maybe you're trying to understand industries, as well as you can search for keywords, right? So whether the keywords are mentioned in the title or the document. So for example, let's say you're looking at something on blockchain within the title, you'll be able to get those reports as well. So, I mean, obviously over here we're focusing on companies, but it's flexible for you to search across themes, across industries. So if you see over here under report types, you'll get the option to select just industry reports, economic reports, ESG reports, investment strategy. Right, and then you would just have to click on those reports to open them up. So I did want to go into Excel as well, and I'm going to try and load that. Hopefully there are no issues. And what I wanted to show you were two particular models or Excel models, one which are located within the templates for analysis of the company. One is the interactive income statement, and the other is the DCF template. Yeah, so let's load it. I will click on templates. Yeah, so you'll see over here, interactive income statement. Right. So this income statement is slightly different from the traditional income statement in that it's giving you both the historical reported values that the company has actually provided, as well as what is forecasted. Right now, the unique thing over here is that you can also, if you're trying to analyze this company in relation to its immediate peers, you can do that. But if you're also trying to analyze it in relation to, say, two three companies, because you've zoned in on these two three companies within the sector, and then you want to analyze on that basis as well, so you can select that over here. You'll see that all the peers are given over here, and you can just add to that peer list from here. And these are the ones which are selected currently from the immediate peers, right? And if you see under the interactive section, you'll see that it's giving you some important metrics over here, and it's also giving you the peer mean across them, which is the blue line over here. If you hover around it, it'll tell you what that level is. 29.68, 8.85. 7.23 across all these metrics. And then in gray, obviously, is the company in question, which is General Electric right now. So if you wanted to change that, you would see this entire selection changing. So I selected, if I did Reliance over here, code for, and the way you can search for any directly over here is by just doing search. You type the company's name. So you click search over here in the cell that you want to load the RIC or the right definitive identification code, and you type it. Okay, I load it, and then just change this to. Right. You can also add more peers over here if you choose to. Um, so yeah, so you can select from here. And that will influence this output, right? And if you see over here within each of these kind of overall line items, if you break it down, you will see what the performance has been. So it gives you a very kind of visual look of what the performance has been for, the company. And you can also change the estimates as well. So if you're looking at you want to see what the mean estimate was, or you want to see what the smart estimate was, you will be able to see that too. So it's kind of a unique way of looking at the how the company has performed historically as well as in the future. The other template that you may want to check out, and a little short on time, so I'll just show you where it's located and give you an overview, is the DCF. Right, so the instructions are all provided over here. The inputs by default are going to give, they're going to, essentially what it's going to do, for the model calculation, it's going to take default selections based on what company you have taken. So what is the prevailing corporate tax rate? What is the cost of equity, cost of preference? Which risk-free rate should it take? That'll be determined by what companies you are selecting over here. So as you see, this is automatically calculating. Right, and if you want to have a manual override over the weighted average cost of capital, or which risk-free rate you're taking, that you would be able to specify over here. If you didn't, it would automatically calculate basis of what Refinitive's calculations are for that specific company and the market in which it operates. So if we go over here, these are the calculations as far as the forecasted cash flows and revenues are concerned, basis the automatic inputs. If you change this, let's say you put 25%, obviously that would, sorry, that would alter these forecasts as well. Right, and if you wanted to change the risk-free, essentially there is options for you over here to adjust what the model output will be, basis your understanding of what your preferences are. So I have 5 minutes now to just go over any questions, and you can let me know. And if you want to run through anything that we covered, we can go through it again. So please let me know. Or if there's anything over and above what we have discussed, please highlight it right now, and we can go through it. You can unmute yourself or you can put in the chat, whichever you're more comfortable with. How can we download sentiments? Okay, so I think someone is asking about the social media monitor. Okay. So someone has asked on how can we download sentiments from social media monitor, as well as could you show how to search templates? So yeah, I'll show you the Excel template. Okay, so I don't know if you're asking me about the social media monitor over here, but I'm assuming that is what you're asking. But so you're asking how can we download this monitor? Mm-mm-mm. So I think hmm, yeah, I don't think there is an option to download over here, right? Let's see in Excel if there is anything. Yes, to your question, how do you open the templates? You will have to go into Thomson Reuters plugin. Within the Thomson Reuters plugin, there is an option for templates on the top left, and you just type in whichever template you are looking for, or you search by category. So they're all classified within the categories over here. The ones we looked at were under company fundamentals. And I believe social media, there is no existing template. But what we can do, what we do as well on Refinitiv side is we create a lot of these templates, custom templates for the users. So if there is a requirement that you have, and you want us to explore whether we can create that social media monitor for you in Excel, we can definitely do that. If you'd like, you can reach out to me. I'll provide my details. You can reach out to me after this, and I'll tell you how we can go about creating that template for you in Excel. If you're interested in having that, if you're interested, and if it's possible for us to create it in Excel for you. Are there any other sentiment indices in Thomson? Okay. So sentiment indices in Thomson. Yeah, I mean, we do have something under watchlist pulse. So watchlist pulse is another unique way of kind of looking at your coverage list. So let me just open that up. Let me see it for the S&P 500. Right. So this is again giving you a kind of sentiment analysis. Uh, so if it's trending or there's a new sentiment activity which has changed, this should give you that. So we can see over here, this seems to be trending for whatever reason, Bristol Myers Squibb. And it gives you the number of this things that it's trending, number 6 trending company in news. So what is the rank for it being trending in broader news category? So that is one way to track sentiments over here for multiple companies in one go. And the thing about this is that you are not tracking it for default companies. You are tracking it for companies that you are interested in, which you can load from here. So whether that's an index or that's a list of stocks, 100 stocks which you're covering, you can adjust that from here, right? So if you've saved a monitor with, like, say, 100 stocks, and you wanted to only see what the sentiment is for those 100 stocks, once you saved it, you can load it from here. As far as indices are concerned, I believe there are indices for that we provide. I would need to look at the exact indices, but I can get back to you on what are the indices we provide. Can we download into Excel from here from Pulse? Let me see. No, I don't believe we can download from Pulse. I don't think Pulse has the option to download directly into Excel. Again, if you have a requirement such as this for companies or large where you want to be able to even input the companies and then have the scores come out, we can create that in Excel. But this is not giving the option to download directly. What I can show you is where you can actually put in these requests. If you want to do that yourself as well, I'll show you the page where you can put in request for creation into Excel. So if you type fmc.thomsonreuters.com, this is where you can create requests. You give them the skeleton of what your requirement is, or you say, I want to have something created similar to Pulse with these metrics, and I want to be able to input my own stocks in a particular column. They will actually create it for you, and they will send it across. The usual turnaround time is approximately three to 4 days for the template to be delivered. So this is something you can also check out. You could not find. Sorry, which one could you not find? Sentiments. It's in Excel. Are there sentiments itself fields? Okay. Um, sure. Let's see. Another way that you can actually look up, any item or field in Icon is through the data item browser, and then kind of search for it in Excel subsequently. So the data item browser within Icon gives you the full list of fields available. So let's assume I'm loading Apple. Let's see for Apple what comes up. Sentiment. All right. Oops. Yeah, I do not see anything on a data item browser. Yeah. What I can do is I can come back to you on the sentiments on the fields that are available directly within Excel. No, I think they may not. What might be is that those are sentiments based on the number of news or uh, the whether it's positive or it's negative. What are the keywords in the news? I think that's what you're seeing in the social media monitor. Now, whether that's being tracked with as a data item, I don't know. I have seen under DIB, I don't see it, so it may not be tracked under as a field, but it's getting produced over here in 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 terms of the application. So I'll need to check whether this is available as a downloadable field. It's it's for that company in question. It's not going to be for the region. It's the sentiment for the news, that keywords which are triggered in the news for those companies. But I can come back to you on that. I understand that you are looking at sentiments quite keenly, so I'll come back to you on that sentiments. If you want, you can also share your email with me, and I will email you directly after. I think I have your email in my admin, my training admin portal, but uh, yeah, that's helpful. Thank you. Yeah. So I hope I answered the questions that you have. If you have some more questions, you can let me know now. Whether it's searching for templates or anything else. All right. So if there are no questions, I will close the session for today. I hope it was useful. Please let me know. I will share my contact details with you. These are my coordinates. If you have any questions post the session, you can definitely reach out. I'll be happy to help. I will get back to you on the specific sentiment question. But anyone else has any questions, you can just let me know, or you can email me later. All right, then. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Take care.